Hey guys, Dr. Greg here. Welcome back to another episode of the Dr. Greg Show. The heart behind the show is to empower, to educate, to allow you to make better decisions about your health in a confusing world, right? There's so much information out there and everyone seems to have the magic thing to do for you, or the magic product, or the magic protocol. I'm going to try to get in the weeds with you and walk through it. In today's episode, we're going to talk about brain fog. That frustrating feeling when my brain feels like it's wrapped in cotton. This is a feeling that so many women experience through perimenopause. We're going to walk through root causes, inflammation. We're going to talk about cortisol swings, insulin resistance, poor sleep, and hormonal shifts, all in simple language. As always, my goal is to ground you in hope. Not that this is a personality flaw, right? This is a physiological symptom of your body. Last week's episode, I talked about that puffy, inflamed feeling that so many women battle. Today, I want to share a story about a woman who looked at me in the eye and said, Dr. Greg, I feel like I'm lost inside of my own head, right? If you ever reached for a word or you knew that word and you're not sure what's going on, this episode is for you. Again, quick reminder, send your questions for us. We do upcoming Q&A sessions along the way. Share this episode, subscribe. We have a wonderful game plan of continuing to dive into the education from that standpoint. So the goal of this podcast today, by the end, you're going to understand why brain fog is a part of perimenopause, but it doesn't have to be, and what your body is actually trying to tell you. So first off, we just need to understand the conversation that you're not losing your mind. You're not lazy. You're not unfocused or just getting older, right? Your brain clarity, ladies, listen to me. Your brain clarity is a reflection of hormone patterns, inflammation levels, sleep rhythms, nutrient status, not willpower. That's very important to understand. I hear it every single week when I sit down with patients virtually. Dr. Greg, I forget words. I'm losing track mid-sentence at times. Slower processing than maybe I'm used to. Even conversations around needing my caffeine first thing in the morning or in the afternoon. And then I'm feeling like my brain is just like offline come 3 o'clock. So let's talk about the science of this. As you know, like a lot of people can have opinions. I like science, and respectfully, not all science is like, we have to understand like who did the research, what are we looking at? So we want to be mindful of those aspects as well. So inflammation and brain fog. Here we go. A 2019 study in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that even mild systemic inflammation can impair memory, attention, and processing speed. So remember, we go back to last week's episode where we talked about inflammation. You see, you are completely intertwined. These things all work together from that standpoint. Next thing we're going to look at is cortisol and cognitive function. So this is research from psychoneuroendocrinology. There's a big word, right? Shows that cortisol dysregulation, especially the high morning, then crash pattern, disrupts the prefrontal cortex. This is our decision-making part of our brain, and we call it executive function, right? So this ties to stress, perimenopause, and that afternoon zombie feeling. Next piece of research looks at estrogen and brain clarity. Estrogen affects neurotransmitters like acetylcholine and serotonin. A 2022 systemic review showed estrogen decline reduces cognitive flexibility and verbal memory. This is why women started to describe brain fog mid-30s, sometimes earlier, through those mid-40s. So let's jump into the why now. I think it's important for us to kind of grasp, like, what could the potential why be behind this? So let's talk about the brain. Your brain is an energy-hungry organ. It is highly metabolically active. So when inflammation, blood sugar swings, or hormone shifts hit, your brain is the first organ that dims the light. It's the first organ that gets impacted by that. Secondly, blood sugar roller coaster. So think like low blood sugar, think of like bad Wi-Fi, right? High blood sugar, think of like system overloaded. They both cause brain fog. Okay, so we're going to tie into next week's episodes on cravings, talking about that. Your brain on stress, again, talking about cortisol. When cortisol is high, your brain shifts resources to survival, not clarity. It literally says, I'm just worried about getting through today. Like, think about that. And then hormonal shifts. Yes, ladies, the hormones do shift. And again, I've said this many, many times, and I want to reiterate this many, many times more. You don't need a bunch of hormones to start things off. We have to first ask the question, why are the hormones shifting? That's the most important conversation we need to have. Estrogen, think of like brain. It lightens the brain. Progesterone, brain calming. Okay. When there's shifts of these, like estrogen drives us, progesterone soothes us, testosterone gives us resilience. If that symphony is out of order, if there's percussion, woodwinds, and brass in a symphony, and you got lots of one and none of the other, it can sound like a gong show, and you can feel like that when you're inside of this. And then lastly, we do talk a lot about mitochondria. You know, mitochondria is a catchy term right now. A lot of people are talking about mitochondria, what it is. People think it's just the powerhouse of the cell, but when in reality, it's also the battleship. So when we understand, what is the battleship responding to? That's the magic question. Because if you have fatigue, which is the number one symptom that I see in my practice, the question really truly needs to be why? Where is that coming from? What's going on with that? All right. So most women think brain fog is getting older, needing more coffee, poor sleep habits. Here's the surprising truth. Brain fog is one of the earliest signs that your body's metabolic and inflammatory systems are asking for help. It's not random. It's the dashboard light that needs to be addressed. So let's talk about some practical tools as we continue here. So number one, the 3 p.m. reset. A lot of you are having that 3 p.m. crash. And there's a lot to that, right? So before reaching for caffeine, what should we do at 3 o'clock? Hydrate, protein, a little bit of fat, a little bit of fiber. Have a good quality snack. Drop inflammation in the evening. How do we do that? 10-minute walk after meals. Get this. A 10-minute walk after a meal can reduce blood sugar spikes by up to 30%. That is absolutely fantastic. Number 3, we want to support estrogen detox pathways. By the way, those estrogen detox pathways are in the liver and the gut. We need to be able to clear these hormones as well. So things like cruciferous vegetables, diindemethionine, DIM, right? Hydration, deep breathing, stimulating that lymphatic system to get things moving. And then we also want to reduce that cortisol dysregulation. So first morning light exposure, big fan of that, deep breathing, and then things like no stress movement, right? Go for a walk. Just move your body. Rebounder, I'm a big fan of those as well. So again, the idea is, yes, brain fog is real. Yes, you're probably experiencing brain fog, but at the end of the day, when you kind of have an idea of what could be the underlying components, that's the beautiful part of this, right? That's where the magic comes into play. So key takeaways from today's talk. Brain fog is not just aging. It's inflammation, it's hormones, it's stress, and blood sugar at work. Number 2, estrogen shifts directly impact memory and verbal clarity. So the reality is in perimenopause, there's some days where estrogen can be high. There's some days where it can be low. It can literally feel like you're on a roller coaster, and I get it. Number 3, cortisol swings disrupt focus and processing speed. And lastly, number 4, you see, you can absolutely get your clarity back. It starts with understanding root causes, like what are the driving forces behind these things. So here's the scoop, ladies. You get this. Your body is always talking, especially when your brain feels fuzzy, right? If you want deeper guidance or feel like this episode describes your daily life, check out the links in the show notes. There's resources to help you take the next steps towards clarity. So closing thoughts here. If your brain rather feels foggy, it's not random. It's a signal. Remember, symptoms are not bad. They're signals. How do we reframe how we look at those types of things? Next week, we can talk about another signal, cravings, why your body suddenly wants sugar or salt, and what those cravings are trying to tell you. All right, you guys, again, it's an honor to serve you. Thank you for being a part of these short little conversations. Again, share, subscribe. There's more to come. And it's an honor to serve and bless you, because when I bless you, I bless your family.